Have you ever looked around in your 70s and realized that the things that once seemed vital, crowds, dinner parties, social calendars packed with names, no longer bring the same warmth or meaning they once did? Maybe you've noticed a shift, a craving not for more company, but for more peace, not for more voices, but for more clarity, and perhaps, most surprisingly, you're not sad about it. You're not lonely. You're just tired of pretending that everything and everyone still fits. If that's you, you're not alone and you're not broken. In fact, you may be finally waking up to a truth that many people miss their whole lives. You don't need friends after 70 to be whole, happy, or deeply fulfilled. That may sound shocking at first. After all, we live in a world that tells us that being social equals being healthy. That loneliness is a killer. That the more connections you have, the longer you'll live. But what if I told you that not all friendships bring life? What if I told you that certain relationships, especially the ones rooted in obligation, guilt, or old expectations, can actually rob you of your peace, your energy, and your joy? And what if the real path to happiness after 70 isn't about adding more people, but about subtracting the ones who no longer fit? In this video, we're going to explore 6 deeply honest reasons why embracing independence after 70 might just be the most liberating, healthy, and soul-nourishing decision you'll ever make. This isn't about isolation, it's about reclamation, about choosing depth over breadth, about making space for the relationships and the stillness that actually feed your soul. You'll meet people like Harold, Margaret, William, and Eleanor, real seniors who discovered that freedom begins when you stop forcing what no longer feels real. And you'll walk away with a new kind of wisdom, that after 70, your greatest friend might just be your own peace. If you're new here, welcome to Daily Elder Advice, the channel where we explore the truths, stories, and science of growing older with grace, clarity, and purpose. We share real stories, elder wisdom, health insights, and the powerful mindset shifts that can change everything in your later years. If that sounds like something you'd benefit from, please consider subscribing, tapping the notification bell, and leaving a comment to share your experience. Now, grab a cup of tea, settle into your favorite chair. Let's begin a journey of letting go and leaning into something much more powerful. Chapter 1. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. As we journey into our 70s and beyond, one of the most liberating psychological shifts we can experience is the gradual shedding of external validation. According to developmental psychologist Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, older adults enter a stage called ego integrity versus despair. This phase isn't about proving oneself to others. It's about reflecting on one's life and embracing it with satisfaction. By this age, the race to impress, to be admired, or to earn approval is not only unnecessary, it's counterproductive. Neuroscience has shown that our prefrontal cortex, which governs social behavior and decision-making, matures into a stage where authenticity outweighs social conformity. The deep inner peace we crave after 70 often comes from letting go of the mask we once wore to fit in. And finally embracing who we truly are. Real-life story. Harold and the corporate curtain. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold, now 73, spent over 4 decades as a top-level executive in a Fortune 500 company. He was sharp, strategic, and always surrounded by people, clients, colleagues, mentors, mentees. He was the kind of man who never showed up to a dinner party without a tailored suit or rehearsed anecdote. On the surface, he had it all: reputation, connections, influence. But when he retired at 68, something odd happened. The phone stopped ringing, the invitations dried up, the lunch meetings he once juggled disappeared overnight. At first, Harold panicked. Was it me? He wondered. Did I stop being valuable the day I stopped working? He tried reaching out. He joined alumni networks, golfed more often, sent friendly texts to old colleagues. And yet, silence. Then one morning, while sitting alone on his back porch with a cup of lukewarm coffee, it hit him. Most of those friendships were transactional. They weren't rooted in who Harold was. They were built around what Harold did. That realization, while painful, was also his liberation. Harold stopped chasing empty relationships. He joined a woodworking class he'd always postponed. He reconnected with his grandson over old jazz records. He even started writing essays just for himself. No deadlines, no applause, And slowly, something beautiful unfolded. Harold stopped trying to impress the world and started being impressed by his own quiet joy. Expanded commentary. The freedom of not needing approval. In our earlier decades, much of our identity is shaped by how others see us. We chase validation from friends, co-workers, even strangers. We say yes when we want to say no. We wear shoes that hurt just to match the crowd. But after 70, you finally realize you are not here to perform anymore. You're not obligated to attend dinners you don't enjoy. You don't need to explain your choices to anyone. You don't need likes, shares, or praise to feel worthy. Your worth isn't a currency to be earned, it's a truth to be accepted. Some people might see this as withdrawal, but it's not. It's integration. It's you standing in the fullness of your life story and saying, "This is who I am. I don't need to prove anything else." And once you let go of the compulsion to prove yourself, you'll be surprised at how much lighter your life becomes. You begin to see who stays not because they need you, but because they genuinely value you. By the time you've reached 70, you've already lived through the proving ground. You've faced life's tests, overcome heartbreaks, built families, survived illnesses, and weathered storms. You don't need a crowd to applaud your every move. You don't need to keep running a race that no longer serves you. What you need now is permission to breathe, to slow down, and to embrace the richness of simply being. You are no longer a resume. You are a full story. And the only person whose approval matters now is your own. So stand tall, live boldly, and know this: you have nothing left to prove, only peace left to embrace. Chapter 2. Peace becomes more valuable than socializing. The aging brain craves calm. As we age, our brain chemistry begins to shift in powerful ways. According to neuroscientific studies, the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, becomes less reactive to stress and drama in older adults. Meanwhile, the default mode network, which governs introspection and self-reflection, becomes more active. In simpler terms, the older we get, the less tolerance we have for chaos, and the greater our craving becomes for inner peace. In fact, a study from the University of California, Berkeley found that seniors experience less emotional volatility and greater appreciation for routine, quietude, and meaningful solitude. Socializing, which may have once energized us, now often feels exhausting if it lacks purpose or depth. This doesn't mean we don't enjoy company, but it does mean we start choosing it far more carefully. Real life story. Margaret in The Return to Herself. Margaret, 74, used to be what people called the social butterfly. For years, she hosted weekly brunches, organized holiday parties, and kept in touch with over 24 friends. Her phone buzzed constantly. There was always someone to call, something to arrange, some gathering to attend. But as the years went on, Margaret began to notice a subtle change. Her energy felt scattered. After each get-together, instead of feeling uplifted, she felt drained. The same stories recycled, the same complaints aired, the same undercurrents of judgment cloaked in politeness. She couldn't pinpoint it at first, but something was missing. Or maybe, something was being lost. One morning, after yet another late-night phone call filled with gossip and superficial chatter, Margaret sat in her garden with a cup of chamomile tea. The sun was rising, birds chirped faintly, and the breeze was cool and still. And it hit her. This moment of silence held more meaning than any conversation she'd had in months. That day, Margaret made a quiet but radical decision. She started saying no. No to the phone calls that drained her. No to the invitations that felt like obligations. No to the version of herself that always had to be there for everyone else. And in doing so, she said yes to herself. She began walking alone in the woods behind her home. She started gardening again. She returned to watercolor painting, something she hadn't done in 30 years. Her world didn't shrink, it deepened. I used to think I needed people to feel full, she said, but now I realize I just needed space to hear myself again. Expanded commentary. From noise to nourishment. In youth, we equate connection with company. But in age, we come to understand that connection also lives in stillness. Many older adults feel guilty when they pull away from friendships or social commitments. We're taught to believe that social withdrawal equals sadness, or even depression, but that isn't always true. Sometimes, peace isn't a symptom, it's a choice. It's the act of saying, I don't need to reply right away. I don't need to go if I don't want to. I don't need noise to feel alive. Solitude, when chosen rather than forced, becomes a sacred kind of nourishment. When you let go of the pressure to fill every moment with people, something unexpected happens. You begin to truly meet yourself again. You hear your own thoughts more clearly. You feel your breath settle. You stop apologizing for needing quiet. And in that quiet, you discover an entire inner world that had been silenced for decades under the weight of social expectations. There comes a time in life when peace becomes your most loyal companion. After decades of giving your energy to others, children, partners, friends, co-workers, it's not selfish to choose stillness. It's sacred. Choosing peace isn't about isolation. It's about alignment. It's about listening to the quiet call within you that says, slow down, come home. You are no longer defined by how many people surround you, but by how deeply you connect with yourself. And once you discover the beauty of your own company, you'll never again feel pressure to explain your need for quiet. Peace is not the absence of connection, it is the presence of clarity. Chapter 3. Fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. Social expectations and emotional burnout. As we grow older, our emotional bandwidth narrows, but not in a bad way. Research in gerontology and social psychology consistently shows that older adults tend to prioritize emotionally meaningful interactions over superficial ones. This phenomenon is known as socio-emotional selectivity theory, the idea that when time feels limited, people naturally focus on the relationships that matter most. But this wisdom doesn't arrive without some bruises. By the time we reach our 70s, most of us have experienced some form of social heartbreak, being ghosted, being used, or being forgotten by those we once called close. The truth is, friendships can disappoint us just as much as romantic relationships, if not more, because we rarely expect them to. This is why simplifying your social circle isn't sad, it's smart. Real-life story. William's quiet wake-up call. William, 78, used to have a Sunday ritual. Every weekend, without fail, he'd call a handful of old friends to check in. Some he knew from his military days. Others were golfing buddies, former neighbors, or parents from his children's school days. He kept a spreadsheet, literally, to remind himself when he last spoke to each one. But week after week, he noticed something strange. When he stopped initiating the calls, no one followed up. Birthdays came and went. Illnesses passed without a text. He was the glue, but the glue was tired. One day, after leaving a third unanswered voicemail in a row for someone he'd once considered a brother, he put down the phone, stared out the window, and whispered to himself, if I stopped reaching out, would any of them notice? That day, William made a decision. He didn't slam doors. He didn't burn bridges. He simply stopped chasing. He let go. And in that space, something beautiful happened. A few real friends remained. People who did check in. A granddaughter who showed up with homemade cookies. A former co-worker who called just to say, I was thinking of you. William realized that when you stop pouring energy into the ones who drain you, you make room for the ones who fill you. Expanded commentary. Redefining what friendship means. There's a dangerous myth we carry into old age, that having fewer friends means we've somehow failed socially. But the opposite is often true. As we age, our criteria for what makes a relationship worth it changes dramatically. We no longer want half-hearted conversations, one-sided effort, shallow connections that never go deeper than the weather or old gossip. What we do want is something quieter, rarer, and far more valuable. A phone call that lifts us, a shared memory that warms us, a presence that doesn't require performance. And yes, sometimes, that presence is our own. Letting go of friendships that no longer nourish you isn't bitter, it's brave. It says, I value my emotional energy too much to keep spending it where it isn't returned. You're not walking away in anger, you're walking away in wisdom. Friendships, like seasons, come and go, and that's not a failure, it's a part of growth. If you find yourself feeling more disappointment than joy from certain relationships, it's okay to step back. You're not obligated to keep proving your loyalty when it's not returned. At this stage in life, your peace is more valuable than politeness. Your time is too sacred to waste on silence from people who once claimed to care. When you stop chasing people who don't see your worth, you begin to rediscover your own value, unshaken, uncompromised, and finally, respected. So let go with love. and make room for the friendships that feed your soul, or the stillness that heals it. Chapter 4. Your time becomes more precious. The economics of time in old age. One of the most profound shifts that happens after 70 is not in the body, but in the mind. As people age, they begin to see time as finite, no longer a wide-open stretch of decades, but a deeply personal and limited resource. This shift is not negative, it's clarifying. According to time perception research published in the Journal of Aging Studies, seniors become more selective about how and with whom they spend their time. This is why the elderly often choose emotionally meaningful interactions over superficial ones, and solitary joys over chaotic engagements. Time becomes currency, and every hour is spent with greater intention. This is why releasing unfulfilling friendships is not a loss, but a strategic, even spiritual decision. Real-life story. Richard's awakening at the lunch table. Richard, now 82, was known for his generosity. He was the one who always brought a bottle of wine to every dinner, remembered everyone's birthday, and never missed a family gathering. Even after retirement, he filled his calendar with lunches, reunions, club meetings to stay active. He told himself, but over time, those gatherings began to feel hollow. Conversations circled the same complaints, the same gossip, the same tired laughter. He'd go home afterward, drained and wondering, why do I feel lonelier in a room full of people than when I'm alone? It was at one of these lunches, a particularly loud, joyless afternoon at an overcrowded Italian restaurant, that Richard had his moment of truth. He glanced down at his watch, then out the window, then quietly stood up, excused himself, and left mid-meal. That afternoon, he drove to the park. He sat on a bench. No phone, no noise, just him, a book, and the sound of birdsong in the distance. I spent 2 hours there and felt more alive than I had in months. He later told a friend, because it was my time, my way, my joy. From that day on, Richard stopped saying yes out of guilt. He let his calendar breathe, and for the first time, time itself became a source of joy, not something to fill, but something to savor. Honoring the value of time. There's a cruel illusion in youth that time is unlimited, that there will always be more chances, more summers, more conversations. But after 70, that illusion dissolves. You begin to see your time, feel its weight, its worth, and suddenly, things become clearer. A 1-hour phone call with someone who drains you, too expensive. An afternoon lost in nature or music, a luxury worth indulging. A long conversation with your grandchild, priceless. When you understand the value of your time, you stop wasting it trying to maintain outdated social connections that no longer serve your joy. You start curating your life like a gallery, choosing only the people, places, and passions that bring beauty and meaning. This isn't selfish, this is sacred stewardship. Time is the most valuable gift you have left. And after 70, it becomes more precious than money, approval, or appearances. You don't owe your minutes to anyone who doesn't honor them. You've earned the right to use your time for joy, peace, curiosity, and rest. Say no to the things that drain you. Not because you're bitter, but because you finally understand that life is not about how much time you have, but how well you spend it. The greatest investment you can make now is in yourself, your passions, your stillness, and the quiet miracles in your ordinary days. Chapter 5. True companionship comes from within. The power of solitude in aging. Contrary to popular belief, being alone is not the same as being lonely. In fact, recent studies in gerontology and positive psychology have found that seniors who are comfortable with solitude tend to experience higher life satisfaction, lower rates of anxiety, and greater emotional regulation. This isn't just about having fewer friends, it's about having a better relationship with oneself. Psychologists call it self-intimacy, the ability to sit with your thoughts, explore your inner world, and find companionship not in others, but in your own presence. In a society that fears silence, elders who master solitude discover a rare kind of peace that younger generations often chase in vain. Real-life story. Eleanor's mirror moment. Eleanor, now 76, used to believe that her worth was measured by her busyness. Her schedule was filled with bridge games, community service, garden club meetings, and weekend coffee dates. Her phone rarely stopped ringing. But one winter, following a difficult illness that kept her homebound for weeks, something shifted. in the quiet of her convalescence, with no visitors and no appointments, Eleanor faced something she hadn't in decades, herself. At first, the silence scared her. It echoed too loudly. The days felt long. Her fingers reached instinctively for her phone, but paused. Why? She asked herself. Why do I feel the need to be needed? To be seen, every hour of every day? It was in that stillness that Eleanor discovered something beautiful. She began to journal. She listened to classical music she hadn't heard in years. She started painting again, just tiny strokes of watercolor that captured how she felt inside. And for the first time in years, she felt complete. I thought I needed people to feel whole, she said, but I just needed space to come back to myself. Now, Eleanor still socializes, but on her own terms. No more fear of empty calendars. She knows that her best company is the version of herself she once abandoned in the noise of being busy. From loneliness to self-companionship, we live in a world that fears solitude. We're taught that to be alone is to be forgotten, unimportant, unloved. But here's the truth that aging reveals. Your greatest peace lives in your own presence. You don't need to be constantly surrounded to feel alive. You don't need constant chatter to feel connected. Because when you are rooted in yourself, you carry your home within you. This kind of companionship, the kind you build with yourself, is deeper than anything external. It's in the quiet way you smile at your reflection. It's in the long walk you take with no one but your thoughts. It's in the gentle forgiveness you offer your younger self for not knowing better. And perhaps most powerfully, it's in realizing you are enough, even in silence. When you stop fearing time alone, you begin to truly listen to your body, your heart, your intuition, and in that space, healing happens, growth returns, life slows down enough for you to savor it. The greatest friendship you will ever have is with the person staring back at you in the mirror. After 70, you no longer need to perform or impress. You don't need to be surrounded to be seen. The quietest rooms often hold the loudest truths. And in your stillness, you will remember who you've always been: wise, resilient, whole. Embrace the richness of your own company. Learn to walk with yourself, not behind the crowd. Because once you feel at home within, you'll realize you were never truly alone. You were simply waiting to meet yourself again. Chapter 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. The psychology of release. Letting go is not just a metaphor, it's a neurobiological shift. As we age, our brains become more attuned to emotional regulation and long-term well-being. The prefrontal cortex, our rational center, gains dominance over impulsive responses. What does this mean in real life? It means that older adults are naturally more inclined to let go of grudges, social pressure, and emotional noise in favor of peace, clarity, and purpose. This is why many seniors report greater happiness. Even with fewer friends, less activity, and more solitude, they stop chasing what doesn't fit, and what remains is the freedom to live life on their own terms. Letting go isn't a loss, it's a return to self. Real life story. James and the freedom to choose joy. James, now 79, once believed that the key to aging well was to stay constantly connected. He kept up with old friends from college, RSVP'd to every neighborhood event, and made sure his week was full, always something on the calendar. But deep down, he felt restless, exhausted. Conversations became predictable, social events turned into performances. And one night, after returning home from a party that left him more depleted than delighted, James sat alone at his kitchen table and whispered a question that changed everything. What if I stopped doing all the things I'm only doing out of habit? That question led to small decisions, saying no to one invitation, deleting a group chat, skipping a lunch he no longer enjoyed, and then big changes. James began spending entire afternoons walking by the river near his home. He picked up poetry, he took naps in the sun. He felt something he hadn't felt in decades: lightness. And not because he had more time, but because he stopped wasting it on things that no longer brought him alive. Letting go didn't make him lonely. It made him available for peace, for joy, for presence, the art of releasing what no longer serves you. One of the most courageous things you can do after 70 is give yourself permission to stop performing for the world. You don't have to attend every gathering. You don't have to respond to every message. You don't have to keep friendships that feel more like maintenance than meaning. Because here's the truth: what you release, you make space for. When you let go of the people, places, and patterns that no longer reflect your values or bring you joy. You create room for rest that nourishes, hobbies that inspire, moments that matter, and maybe, just maybe, for a quiet kind of happiness that doesn't come with applause, but comes with peace. Letting go isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's choosing to walk the rest of your life path not out of guilt, obligation, or fear, but out of clarity and freedom. There's a beautiful life waiting for you on the other side of letting go. A life where your days aren't ruled by obligation, but by choice, where your heart isn't crowded by noise, but free to listen to what truly matters. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not alone for choosing solitude. You are wise for knowing that fulfillment comes not from clinging to everything, but from releasing what no longer fits. Letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of your most honest, most aligned, most peaceful years yet. Open that door, step through. What you find may surprise you, and it will most certainly free you. By the time you reach 70, you no longer need to chase what once drained you. You don't have to keep proving your worth to others, holding on to relationships that have lost their meaning, or filling your days with noise just to feel connected. Instead, you now have the power to choose peace, to slow down, to breathe, and to come home to yourself. Throughout this video, we explored 6 powerful truths about letting go, not as a loss, but as a quiet revolution, a return to authenticity, to simplicity, to joy without pretense. Choosing solitude doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you finally made space for what truly matters. When you release what no longer nourishes you, you open your life to everything that does. And there is such beauty in that. Life doesn't end when the crowd gets smaller sometimes. It finally begins. You don't need a room full of people to feel loved. Often, the most profound clarity comes in stillness, and the most honest happiness grows in your own quiet company. So if today you're holding on to something out of guilt, fear, or habit, maybe it's time to let it go gently. And with love, not because you're giving up, but because you're growing into the freedom you've always deserved. The rest of your life is still unwritten, and now, you get to write it on your own terms. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you experienced any of the truths we shared today? Is there a friendship you've let go of and found more peace because of it? What does true companionship look like for you at this stage of life? Please scroll down and leave a comment. Your story could be the very thing that comforts someone else walking this same path. If this video made you feel seen, supported, or simply less alone, please consider doing a few small things that make a big difference. Give this video a like, it helps us reach more beautiful souls like you. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Share this video with someone who needs it, a friend, a sibling, even your own children. You never know who might need this message today. At Daily Elder Advice, we don't just talk about aging, we honor it. We share real stories, gentle truths, and practical wisdom to help you live not just longer, but deeper.